believers, and often actually feel that they themselves have psychic powers.
Oh, I see. Do you think that belief in the paranormal is curable? Are we fighting a losing battle?
I think it will always be there. I don't think that we can ever kind of eliminate. And in a sense, I kind of see that as secondary now in terms of what I do. I'm interested in just the most basic question of, well, why do people believe those things? Why do they have those experiences? How do we explain it? I think that skeptics do need to go on the attack in certain areas. I mean, if you're dealing with fraudulent medical claims, if you're dealing with dangerous beliefs, then I think it is important. I think sometimes we can maybe be a bit too zealous, and there are certain circumstances where having paranormal beliefs may actually be helpful. I mean, to take the obvious example, I think most people, whether they're skeptics or believers, are frightened by the idea of their own mortality. But if you believe in life after death, it's not going to be quite such a scary prospect, and studies tend to show that under certain circumstances, actually engaging in superstitious behaviour can actually serve a useful psychological function as a coping mechanism. Now, I kind of think it's quite ironic that to some extent skeptics sometimes, I think, assume that it's always better to have a very clear view of reality, to be in touch with what is going on. And by and large, as a scientist, it's a view that I share. But there are lots of studies that show that if you are psychologically healthy, whatever that may mean, but if you are psychologically healthy, you probably are slightly deluded. You probably have an overly positive view of the way life is. So just to explain what I mean, in studies where they've given questionnaires to people which ask them to estimate how likely is it that either really awful things will happen, like getting terminal diseases, or really good things like winning the lottery, and psychologically healthy people overestimate how likely the good stuff is, and they underestimate how likely the bad stuff is. You give the same questionnaire to depressives, and they're spot on. The depressives have got it right. Life really is shit, but you've got to kind of live your life as if it's not, otherwise you're going to have a miserable time.
Can you tell us how important are preconceptions, as you call them, top-down information when forming opinions?
Again, this is this basic idea, which I think most people would subscribe to, but we are all very, very influenced by our prior beliefs. One of the most ubiquitous cognitive biases is something called confirmation bias. And we're all prone to it, Anybody who says, no, I'm just a neutral assessor of the evidence, you think, well, no, you're bullshit. No one is, At least the one thing that science has going for it is that science is the only kind of belief system that recognises that those biases are going to be there and tries to control for them. But the basic idea would be that whenever you look at any kind of ambiguous information, your expectations, your beliefs about the world will influence both how you perceive the world, how you remember what happened, how you make judgments about, say, complex sets of data. I mean, it still intrigues me that you can get highly intelligent people looking at the research data relating to, say, telepathy, and they can come to diametrically opposed views. I mean, and in advance that the skeptics will look at the data and they'll still end up here, and the believers will look at the data and they'll still end up here, and yet they're looking at the same data.
Yes. Being a scientist and a skeptic is quite a potent mix. Let's say in a conversation, those of us who are not scientists sometimes feel the need to plus the argument with some argument from authority. What would you advise such people to do?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because although again, I think it's very sound that skeptics will generally say, don't just accept authority. As human beings, I think we're if you start to think about all the things that you know or think you know, most of those you don't know from direct personal experience. You know because people have told you, either your parents or your teachers or your friends or whoever, or you've read it in a book, you've seen on TV. So I think our kind of default value is that if someone tells you something, your default setting is believe it, unless you've got a good reason not to. And And that makes perfect sense, again, in evolutionary terms. You know, there's lots of stuff you need to know to stay alive, and most of it you don't want to learn the hard way, you know. So it makes sense that we've evolved that way. But what, you know, so skeptics are really a kind of quite an unusual group of people who, you know, although, as I say, we're going to accept that sometimes we're just accepting stuff on the basis of authority, we're at least aware of the fact that that's probably usually okay, but we need to be cautious. And again, we then have to look at the kind of the authorities that we're prepared to listen to, because we will have views that if we read something on an internet blog that it's just come from, you know, out of the ether, it may well not be trustworthy. If we see a paper that's gone through peer review, been published in a prestigious science journal, there is a better chance at least that the conclusions are probably accurate. No guarantee.
Yes.
No guarantee.
Could you tell us about possible future plans, book or conferences you might want our listeners to know about?
Any of your listeners get over to London, I actually organise an invited speakers programme at Goldsmiths, which is South East London. It's open to the public. It's and we've got some great people coming on over the next year, which we've got Simon Singh, we've got Susan Blackmore, we've got Richard Wiseman, we've got lots of other really good people. Again, I know most of your listeners probably won't be over in London, but towards the end of the month there is an event being organised by the Centre for Inquiry UK. They're having a conspiracy day, so that should be fun. I'll be taking part in that. And there's the World Skeptic Conference in Berlin coming up next year, so great to see some of your listeners there. And again, if your listeners are interested, if they go to our website, which is www.gold.ac.uk/APRU, there are quite a lot of resources there. If people are interested in the psychology of paranormal belief, you can download papers, you can get a better idea of the kind of research we do, and you can sign up to the Psychology of the Paranormal email list, where we typically just use it to tell people about forthcoming events and so on. So.
Any personal books which you're planning on?
I have been trying to. I'm halfway through writing the book, or co-writing a book, and trying to get around to finishing it off. It's very difficult finding enough time.
Well, we've got that many conferences, I understand.
I've just stepped down as editor of the British magazine, The Skeptic, handed on to another new editor who's going to be doing a great job. But that magazine's been going for over 20 years, and we do have a kind of best of the Skeptic volume, which is called Why Statues Weep. So again, if you type that into Google, if you order it via the publisher's website, if you type in the word skeptic as a code, you get a 10% discount. So it's worth knowing. And of course, I've encouraged people to subscribe to our magazine. We've got a special offer for new subscribers. It's a 25% discount. So, yeah.
Professor French, this was a pleasure. Thank you very much for this interview. Also, congratulations for your presentation. It was, I saw at some point the audience, all of them had a wondrous look in their eyes. Oh, I didn't know that. So I think you had a really good impression on the audience, and you will probably do on our audience too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.